Welcome back to Season 1 of the Online Business Case Study. Again, Season 1 is all about my business, AssociatePI.com, a website selling study material in the insurance industry. And the Online Business Case Study, I'm breaking it all down behind the scenes so that you can see what I've done over the past couple of years to scale up this business to where it is today. Today's episode, part 3 of the case study, we are talking about the launch. In parts 1 and 2, part 1 I talked about the idea. Part 2, I talked about validating the idea. Part 3, finally getting around to when I officially started the website and launched the website and put it out there for the world to see. If you want to see the other parts of the case study, you can follow along at theentrepreneurridealong.com/OBCS. OBCS stands for Online Business Case Study. That's where you can see every season that I've published of the Online Business Case Study series, and you can get all the episodes of Season 1 there. So let's talk about Associate PI and how things started off. If you're watching the YouTube series, I got a picture here, the first ever iteration of the website. If you're listening on the podcast, just imagine a very, very ugly website with a ton of buttons and a stock photo of a bunch of kids in school backpacks, kind of looking like high school kids, a ton of hyperlinks, just incredibly ugly. And that was my first iteration of the website, but at least it was a start. I tweaked it. I'll talk about that in a later episode of the case study here of how modifying my homepage to make it streamlined with just one action above the fold, just one button to click to get to my email list, how that I think it actually ended up tripling my revenue on my email subscribers and my conversions, but I'll get to that at a later date. So you guys can see the first iteration of my website. This website was launched in March of 2015. Again, I told you guys in the last episodes that I was studying for these certifications, and I validated the idea that there was an opportunity for me to create an online course teaching people how to pass these exams for the CPCU certification and API certification, the same exams that I was studying for. I started it on the side while I was working full-time in the insurance industry. In fact, I've been doing this on the side since 2015 until I quit my job and took on my businesses, my portfolio of online businesses, full-time in 2021. So I did this on the side for a while. All of it was built on the side, so you can do the same thing while you are working a day job. I started off, I launched the website, bought the domain AssociatePI.com. The name was supposed to be a mix of kind of a play on the words of associate and personal insurance, which was one of the certifications that I was studying for. I actually really hate the name AssociatePI.com. It doesn't really make sense, but names don't matter, logos don't matter. You can change all that stuff later. I just decided to never change the brand name. So Associate PI, that's the name that I've stuck with forever. And I launched out the first iteration of the website. I used WordPress. I used a SiteGround for my hosting. I put it out there. My plan was to start with blogging and using SEO, search engine optimization, to get free traffic to my website because I didn't want to do anything on social media. In fact, I had tried Facebook and Twitter at later days, and they just didn't work in this niche because who wants to go on Facebook and read about insurance exams? That's not why you're on social media. So my plan was, and my hypothesis was, and what I confirmed was that people that wanted to study for this exam were probably going to go to Google and look for information on Google about these certifications. They probably weren't going to be on social media, YouTube, podcasts. They're probably going to be out there looking for blogs and resources on Google. And that was my plan because I didn't want to pay for traffic either. Because again, I just graduated college. I was working my first full-time job. I didn't have a ton of money to invest in this. So I paid about $50 to get this website started with hosting, a domain, and WordPress. And my plan was to get free traffic through SEO. That was my strategy. Right from the beginning, as you can see with this image of my first iteration of the website, I utilized email marketing from the get-go because I had heard entrepreneurs talking about email marketing and how it just made sense that somebody was going to come to my website, read my blog, and then leave forever. And I'm not some big brand name that people are going to remember. They're not going to know to come back to me and look for my courses. I need to capture that lead the first time that they visit my website and get introduced to me and my content. So I was giving away a free practice exam right from the get-go for all the exams that I was planning to write study material for. so that I could start capturing email leads and hit them with email marketing, provide more value, and show and convince people that my brand was trustworthy and that I was somebody reputable that you wanted to listen to and learn from. And I did that through email marketing. Now, at the launch, I did not have a product yet. When I first launched, it was just out there. Here's a website. Here's some content. Here's some blogs. Here's a free practice exam. I had started working on the course called the API 28 course. Was the first online course that I was going to write. I chose that one because it was the smallest of the exams that I had studied for, shortest in terms of content. It was also the easiest one to pass. So in my mind, I was like, I'm just going to start with an easy course, get one out there. API 28, it's one of the exams you need for the API designation. And I had already passed it, and then I was going to start studying. I was already studying for the CPC, which was another designation, another certification that I was studying for. So that was my goal. Start with that course. That would be my first product that I launch out there. If you want to check out iterations of the website, you can use the Wayback Machine. I think it's waybackmachine.com.net. I forget what it is, but just Google Wayback Machine. And it is an internet archive where you can look up past iterations of websites. So you can go in there and type in associatepi.com. It'll show you all the way back to 2015, the first iteration of my website that was ever online. So if you're listening to the podcast, that's how you can check it out. You can go there and look at the internet archives of how ugly my website was and how confusing it was for people that landed on that website to navigate through. No, but that's okay. It's supposed to be ugly. Your first website is supposed to be not pretty. It's not supposed to be perfect. You want to get it out there. What's important is you just have a website out there, domain, website is started. It is an ongoing, ever-changing and evolving host of your content. Your website is always going to be changing and being updated. If it's not, you're doing it wrong. You need to constantly be testing and tweaking and looking at how you can improve your website, improving it for conversion and optimization. So just get a website out there to start with, to host your content. All you care about is that there's something there holding your content. That's what I did, and it ended up paying off. Because otherwise, I could have spent weeks and weeks, probably months, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, to make the perfect website. I tell my coaching clients, don't spend more than 2 days building your website before it's ready to launch. Don't spend more than 2 days, because all you need is just get a basic homepage up there, get something out there like a blog post and some place to hold your blogs, maybe a sales page if you have a product yet, maybe an email opt-in page, but you don't even need that to launch. Just a homepage, maybe a contact us page, and your first blog post. That's all you need. Get it out there to get your website out there and in front of the public, because nobody's going to see it at first. You got to put a little more work in there to get traffic to your website. So just get it out there. Otherwise, you're going to spend forever trying to perfect it before you launch. So 2 days, that's the only time I will give that's as much time as I give my clients to get a website up and send me their URL so I can review their homepage. But back to Associate PI. Let's talk about what I was doing at the launch. So I launched March of 2015 is when the first iteration of the website hit the internet and it was out there for people to see. Let's talk strategy and what my plan was from the beginning. All along, my entire plan was to utilize SEO and get free traffic. So basically the flow of my sales funnel was going to be SEO and my website. So traffic hits my website on my blog. They read my blog and they see my email list. They join my email list where they go through my automated email marketing funnel, which is automated, and then they buy my courses. That was my plan all along. So right away, the first thing I did was I published about 5 blogs in the first months. Because I had talked about this in the last episode, but one of my differentiators was that none of my competitors were out there writing blogs or even creating any content. So I was going to come in with content marketing as one of my big driving differentiators to get traffic to my website. Nobody was talking about these exams or their experience taking these exams, or they weren't giving away free content, free information. And that's what online business is and content marketing is. It's evolved a lot over the years, but in recent years, most recent decade, that is, content marketing has become king. You're out there on Google every day searching subjects, asking questions, searching different topics on Google, and you're looking for answers from a website. You find a website, they answer your question, then you join their email list, then you end up buying their products and services in the future. The fact that nobody was doing this, nobody was creating content or utilizing SEO or blogging was mind-boggling to me. It was all these other websites out there selling study material, but they all looked like they were from the 1990s. It was like as soon as the internet was created, they threw a landing page up there where they sold their content and their courses. And that was it. They weren't utilizing the benefits of Google and search algorithms. That was how I differentiated. My first blogs that I wrote, the first one was targeting the keyword associate and personal insurance designation. The blog was, what is the associate and personal insurance designation? It's a blog that just kind of broke down what is this designation and why I was studying for it. There's only 90 people per month searching for it. Now at this time, I didn't know as much as I know now about SEO. But so 90 searches isn't a ton, but it ended up working out. Now it's actually a strategy that I use, is finding that low-hanging fruit for long keywords. They call it long tail keywords that people are searching in Google. It might not have a lot of search volume, but nobody is out there writing for it. So when I wrote the blog, what is the associate and personal insurance designation? I shot up the rankings almost immediately and was ranking on the first page of Google, one of the top search results. So when anybody typed in that phrase into Google, about 90 people per month typing that into Google, I was one of the first search results, and I started getting traffic to my website immediately. I also wrote the blog CBCU 555 exam questions. Those were the first 2 blogs that I wrote when I launched the website. That was my only 2 pieces of content on the website at the start, just those 2 blogs. That one had about 50 people searching for it per month. So just with those 2, I actually started seeing traffic within, it was probably the first week or 2. All of a sudden I had somebody download one of my lead magnets. Somebody downloaded my free practice exam. And I was using Google Analytics and Google Search Console, both of which I recommend you use to check your traffic and what people are doing on your website, what pages they are visiting. So I checked Google Analytics because I was like, I didn't actually expect people to be here yet. It's only been 2 weeks since I launched this website. And I was actually getting maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 people per day were finding my website, and they were finding these 2 blogs. They were already ranking on the top of Google because there's almost no competition. So I kept going, and I published probably 5 to 10 blogs by the end of the first month, targeting different keywords that I was using Longtail Pro at the time. That's what I use for my keyword research and my SEO work. And I found a couple of keywords that people were searching into Google, things like that CPCU 500 difficulty, CPCU exam question, CPCU practice exam, top insurance designations was one of them that I wrote about, and I listed the top 5 designations. By the end of the first month, I had almost 1,000 page views in just 1 month. So that's incredible for a launch. I just got out there. SEO was already kicking in because nobody was writing about these keywords. So the fact that a brand new website came in, even though I had no credibility, I already started seeing 1,000 page views per month because I was writing about specific keywords that people were searching that nobody else was writing about. By the end of the first year, so I launched in March, so by the end of 2015, I was seeing about 3,000 page views per month, all the way up to my best months were around 5,000 to 6,000. I think I hit 6,000 in December of 2015. So I was already getting a lot of page views by the end of the first year by utilizing blogging. And all I was doing was just writing about the keywords that people were searching in Google, and nobody else was writing about them. I also started utilizing things like on-page SEO. So I knew like where to put my keyword in the title. I knew how to find a good keyword and check for competition. I knew how to put it in the proper heading tags. I knew how to do internal linking. So all my blogs would link to each other so people could navigate through my website and navigate to my different blogs by going from one blog. And I'd say, oh, did you check out the CPCU 520 exam? And they would click that and they go to another blog. And also external links were really important. And I started doing that almost right away, probably March or April. Probably March, I would assume I got my first backlinks. I haven't actually looked it up, but I had some connections of other people that had websites, and I reached out to some people in the industry that were, I remember one guy in particular had a blog about underwriting and how to become an underwriter. I reached out to him, was like, hey, I'll write, I'm creating content for the Charter Property Casualty Underwriter certification. I'll write a blog for you about how to become an underwriter and how this certification can help you become an underwriter. That was my first ever guest blog in my entire life, first time I've ever done this. And I wrote a detailed blog for him, like 1,000 words. He posted it to his website. I got a couple of backlinks back to my website. And that just helped me rank higher on Google because it was showing that I had authority because other websites were linking to my website, which gave me credibility. And in Google's eyes, it basically said, oh, other people are saying that Jake is talking about the CPCU. Jake must be a reputable guy and his website must be good because other people are kind of giving him a pat on the back and saying, okay, he's a good guy. I'll send my traffic to Jake's website. So Google says, okay, he must have some authority and know what he's talking about. And then the more external backlinks, the better your domain authority does and page authority does. And then that's topics for another time. But basically, the more authoritative your website becomes. And if you want to know how I did this, I actually put together a free mini course that I've had this up for years. It's over at theentrepreneurridealong.com/traffic. It's a 5-day mini series, and I call it my 1K in 1 week challenge. Basically, it's exactly what I do with every time I start a new website. Just 1 week of work and how you can get up to 1,000 or more website visitors in that first month with just 1 week of work through SEO and driving organic traffic. So I take you step by step. Like each video is covering the first one is keywords. The second one is on-page SEO. The next one is external backlinks. All these things that I've talked about here that sound really confusing and daunting, but it's really stupidly simple when broken down into simple steps. So theentrepreneurridealong.com/traffic, that's where you can check that out and get that little SEO crash course and just figure out how to utilize keywords and do exactly what I did. Find these low competition keywords and you can start getting the couple thousand people hitting your website every single month just by doing a little bit of blogging. So that was strategy number 1, was the blog. That is first. How do I get people to visit my website? Because that's important. If nobody sees my website, nobody buys my courses. So there's number 1. Blogs are written. I'm getting traffic. From day 1, I also knew from my market research that I talked about in part 2 of the online business case study that nobody was doing email marketing. None of my competitors had a free lead magnet. A lead magnet is just something you give away for free to entice people to join your email list. Nobody was doing that. I went out and it was one of my strategies right away that I'm going to do email marketing. I'm going to offer this free practice exam. The practice exam was my lead magnet. And really all you have to think about when you're creating a lead magnet is when people visit my website, what is the number one thing they are trying to accomplish? Like what is the number one thing you can give away for free that will make people stop and say, wow, I need to download that. In my case, I already knew that people, myself included and my colleagues, we just wanted more practice exam questions to prepare for our exam because we knew we would have to spend 2 hours at the Prometric Testing Center taking these exams that are 85 questions long, an unlimited bank of questions. They're all randomized. You're going to get all these really, really difficult questions. So you need to practice as much as possible. Basically, you need to take like 300 to 400 practice questions before you are comfortable to sit for the official exam. So the fact that I was giving away practice exam questions for free was huge. Usually you had to pay for that. You had to go and pay a couple $100s to buy somebody's exam prep material and get their practice exam questions. And my practice exams weren't huge. There were only 10 to 20 questions that I gave away for free. I didn't tell people that. I would just say download our free practice exam. They would download it and they would get their 10 to 20 free questions. And people were ecstatic with that because I was the only one giving away real practice exam questions, and I wrote them based on my experience taking these exams. So they were formatted similarly to the actual exam. Obviously, you can't copy their exam questions, but I knew how difficult the questions would be. I knew it would be these case study scenario questions that would put you in the scenario as if you were an underwriter in the insurance industry. And it would ask you, okay, this scenario happens. There's a fire at this house. So what would you do in this scenario? What coverage would apply? And you have to choose one of the 4 options, A through D. And I knew how to write questions based on like that scenario, like the exam would be. So people, the word spread pretty quickly that I was giving away free practice exam questions. So I started getting referrals and people finding me from their colleagues because everybody's at work sitting next to each other at their desk and they say, hey, go check out this website, download this free practice exam. And they'd send it to their friends. And so I started getting email subscribers from that first week, or probably the second week, I think is when this happened. I got my first email subscriber, came in almost immediately. Then I started getting at least 1 per day, probably forever. I don't know if I've ever gone a day without getting a new email lead, which has been amazing. So I have a ton of email leads. They come in every single day. Now I get upwards of 20 per day sometimes. New leads that just find my website, read my blogs. I still have these free practice exams available for download. People download them, get on my email list. So that was incredible. And that's why I always recommend people start with email marketing from day one. Get some content out there, but make sure you have a lead magnet so that as people are hitting your website, you can capture that lead. They can get on your email list, because without it, you're going to lose that person forever. Just imagine how unlikely it would be for somebody to visit my website, read one of my blogs, and then spend $400 on a course to use my study material. It's not going to happen. I almost convert no cold traffic into buying customers. I mean, I'd probably convert 15 to 20%. I would say maybe 15% at most of my sales are cold traffic, but that's only because I've built up a reputation and a brand now. So I'm now one of the premier study material exam prep sellers for these certifications. So people will just come straight to my website and buy my courses because their friend recommended it. But in the beginning, definitely for the first couple of years, 100% of my sales came from email marketing, because people would join my free lead magnet. They wouldn't know anything about my business. I had no branding. I was no brand name. So they would get on my email list. I would send them a bunch of free blogs, free information. Hey, here's the most important part of your exam. Hey, here's some more free exam questions. Hey, here's a free trial of my course. I'll give you the entire chapter 1 for free, etc., etc. I'd build up all this value, and then I'd send them some message and be like, hey, this course is available for sale. You can buy it for $300, $400. At the time when I first launched, my courses were priced at $180. Now those same courses are $425. So the price has increased as I've gotten more confident with myself and my courses, and I know what people are willing to pay. But that was the strategy, and that's what I've been using going forward is blog, email marketing. Website is just there to basically host my blogs and my content so people can find me, get on my email list, and then I sell through my email list. So that was the strategy for the launch. And just to give you a quick overview of logistics, it cost me less than $50 to launch this business back in 2015. And you can still start a business for right around $50. Now, for logistics, I used WordPress. WordPress is just a website platform. It's basically the back-end dashboard when you're posting blogs and making changes to your website. That's WordPress. I used GoDaddy to buy my domain name, associatepi.com. That's who I used. You can also use places like SiteGround, Namecheap. There's a bunch of options out there, but I used GoDaddy. I used Fiverr. That's Fiverr.com if you haven't used it. Basically, you can pay people $5 to do pretty much anything. But for me, I use it for graphic design. So I pay somebody $5 to create a logo for me, the Associate PI logo. In fact, I just found a couple of logos that I liked online, sent it to the designer and said, hey, can you just change these, make it Associate PI, change the colors, change the format a little, because obviously I don't want to copy them directly, but they were in such a different niche. They were like entrepreneurship logos that I liked from somebody else's website. And yeah, he created a logo for me, $5, turned it around in 24 hours, and there's my logo that I'm still using today at associatepi.com. It cost me $5, so use Fiverr. Highly recommend it for logo design. You don't have to pay $500 or $1,000 like people are out there charging for logo design. That's logos for big corporations that need a fancy logo and a fancy brand manager. For us online business, just go to Fiverr, pay $5 for your logo. SiteGround is who I use for hosting. I still use them for hosting. I switched away from them for a couple of years, and then I came running back because they were way better than any other host that I've tested out there. And they're one of the cheapest. And it also comes with a free email, which is great. A free email at your domain name. So like contact@associatepi.com or whatever I want to do, jake@associatepi.com. You get that for free with SiteGround, which is really cool because it saves you money and expenses rather than having to go pay for Gmail or something like that. So you can check that out at theentrepreneurridealong.com/SiteGround. It's spelled SiteGround. I am an affiliate of them and I often get discounts, so I'd check that out if you're interested in using SiteGround, because they've had some deals going on. This will just link you right to their deals page where you can get hosting for a year for like $20. It was like $1.50 per month, I think, was one of their latest deals around Black Friday. So check that out. You can get hosting for less than $50 for the year. Just choose the smallest plan to start with. You don't need all that hosting yet. And you just, as your business grows, you get more traffic, you get more sales, you just upgrade your plan at a later date. So I'm on one of the highest tier plans right now because of the amount of traffic that I get from all my websites. But all my websites are hosted under one SiteGround account, so it's pretty cool. At the time, I was using the WP-LMS online course WordPress theme. That's what I sold my online courses through, directly through WordPress, and using WooCommerce synced with WordPress was the actual transaction system. I switched away from them just last year, 2 years ago, and now I use Thrive Themes. That is the theme that I recommend to all my coaching clients. Thrive Themes it's like a really easy drag and drop page builder. Just makes it so easy to build a professional website. So if you look at the entrepreneurridealong.com, that's built with Thrive Themes. No custom coding, no nothing, just all drag and drop because I don't do any HTML, CSS work. I know the basics, but the rest is all just drag and drop for me. So it makes it easy, and they have templates that you can play with. And my courses are now hosted on thinkific.com. Those two combined are just way better than the WP LMS theme that I started with. That theme was just so clunky and hard to work with, and it broke all the time. It worked for what it was. It hosted my website, my courses directly on my website, which was nice. But it just slowed down my website so much, and I had to pay more for hosting because it was so slow. I had to upgrade plans pretty quickly. So just use Thinkific and host it externally because I've found that works a lot better. And for email marketing, I was using MailChimp to start with, but I now use ConvertKit. I recommend ConvertKit as the primary main email management system for email marketing and automation. You can get a free trial at theentrepreneurridealong.com/ConvertKit. That's how you get a free trial to test them out. But that's who I recommend if you're doing email marketing. I started with MailChimp, then you switched over to using Aweber. Then I switched over to ConvertKit, and now I'm never looking back. I've been using ConvertKit for years now. They are far superior to anybody else that's out there right now. And then I used Stripe, and that is basically like a business bank account. You use WooCommerce, which is like the product page and transaction on WordPress. And then that sends money. When people type in their credit card, the money is sent over to Stripe, and Stripe holds your money and then will send it over to your bank account. So I don't know what you would call that. I don't know, payment processor, or I don't know. It's pretty much the middleman, but basically you have to use Stripe. So Stripe.com is who I recommend everybody use. Pretty much everybody in the United States uses them for these online businesses. That's how you accept payments from your website. So that's it. Logistically, WordPress, GoDaddy, Fiverr, SiteGround. Pick a WordPress theme. I recommend Thrive Themes, ConvertKit, and Stripe. All of that, less than $50 to start. It cost me less than $50. It'll cost you right around $50 because you really don't have to pay for ConvertKit just yet until you start getting email subscribers. You have to pay to get their automations, but they'll be a little pricier. I think they're around $20 per month. But that's it. Less than $50 to start. And that's all you need to get started right now with your online business. So that does it for today's case study. That does it for part 2. Again, if you want to download the masterclass that I'm putting together, if you want step-by-step instructions how to launch a business just like Associate PI, this case study, I'm kind of just giving you a behind-the-scenes overview, but I'm going to put together instructions on like do this, and do this, these 3 steps, and that's how you can launch an exam prep business. You can join that masterclass at theentrepreneurridealong.com/exam, EXAM, because this is the exam prep business niche. I call it the exam prep niche because we're selling exam study material. So go to /exam, and that's where you can download the masterclass for step-by-step instructions to replicate this business. And that does it. Again, you can follow along the full case study at theentrepreneurridealong.com/OBCS. OBCS stands for Online Business Case Study. Today was all about the launch. Next week is going to be about, or next session, part number 4 of the online business case study is going to be about selling, getting my first sale and what I did to sell that first course. And also I made a mistake with the first product that I launched. So a little spoiler there. I messed up my first product, didn't sell any, pivoted and figured out what worked and started selling courses like crazy. So that's what part 4 is all about. How I started selling and making money and monetizing this business. And it happened quickly. It happened almost right away. So it was right after the launch here. So I'm excited to tell you all about that in part 4 of the case study. So that's it for today. I'll catch you on the next episode of the Online Business Case Study.